Hi guys, Rachel here, welcome to my channel. A couple of months ago I asked my community tab what sort of videos people wanted to see, and a few people wanted a in my 20s series, and I haven't officially started that, but I did upload a losing friends in your 20s video. So today I'm going to do a follow-up to that video, and this video is going to be how to make friends in your 20s. Firstly, I would like to thank the lovely Neve, aka Fashion Follows, because last week Neve and I went on a friend first date and we went to Dublin, we went for dinner, we went vintage shopping, and it was so wholesome. And I feel like that experience made me feel like I was a good authority to give tips on how to make friends, because this is actually the second first date I've gone on in the last year. So yeah, I just feel like I'm really good at making friends. In that video, I spoke about losing friends, and obviously to make new friends, you probably have lost some, or maybe you're trying to change up your group or whatever, you outgrow people, etc. And I think one thing that I didn't really do when I lost friends the first time was learn to be alone, because the friends that I lost wasn't the entire group, and I feel like a lot of people will be the same. Like if you lose some friends, you don't lose absolutely everyone, but I do think it's important to kind of get used to your own company and to kind of figure out who you are. In the same vein that people say stay single in your 20s because you need to know who you are first, you probably do need to have some alone time to figure out who you are. But I think alone time is literally just being okay spending time with yourself in the afternoons, in the evenings. I love alone time. Obviously my boyfriend has been had COVID, that's why he didn't go to Phoebe Bridgers, so I've had a lot of my evenings spent alone, and I kind of love it. I just love being able to journal, watch stuff I want, read, be relaxed, and I think having a comfort with being alone is something that you probably do need to figure out before you try and jump into a friend group. It's the same way as if you have a bad breakup with someone, you don't rush into a new relationship straight away without taking time for yourself. And I think the whole point about figuring out how you feel when you're alone is because when you lose friends, you often can feel excluded and lonely. And I think if you get used to the feeling of being alone, you're not going to kind of pick friends out of convenience. You're going to actually make sure you have a connection with them. And the more I talk about friendships, the more I realize that friendships are literally the exact same as romantic relationships. There needs to be work on both sides. There needs to be a compromise. There needs to be a connection. And I think if you figure out who you are first, it makes making those connections so much easier. Something that I see a lot on TikTok especially is people being like, going on a date, dating myself, etc. And to be honest, the term kind of annoys me because maybe I'm just really cynical, but I'm like, dating yourself, you're basically just doing tasks on your own, which is a bit mean of me because some people might find that really hard. Hello everyone, it is Rachel from the future. I even have new nails, how stunning. Since I recorded this, I've actually spent a lot of time considering the term dating yourself, and I reference how I think it's kind of a tiny bit insufferable because you're basically just doing normal everyday tasks by yourself and it's being titled as a date. But now I'm kind of looking at it in the sense of self-care, and if you take yourself on dates, you already have a list of expectations for relationships and activities you want to do with other people. So say for example, if you really want to go on coffee dates with friends, if you take yourself out for a coffee, if you go to the library by yourself, you already know the things you enjoy to do, and then when you do have these new relationships, it's easier to enjoy those things because you already have experienced them on your own. So I'm no longer a cynic when it comes to dating yourself. If you have been a watcher for a while, or a viewer, whatever way you want to call yourself, I am obsessed with journaling. I journal all the time. I have two journals. I have a feelings journal, and then I also have a productivity journal. My productivity journal comes everywhere with me. My feelings journal doesn't, just because what if I lose it and someone finds every single deepest thought I've ever had. But I do think if you are going through this transition period of trying to make new friends and losing friends, journaling is really important so you don't bottle everything up. You kind of have somewhere to release it out. Similarly, if you played a sport, if you had a hobby, something that you could use as an outlet. But I do think journaling is really good because it's just a blank page and you can just kind of put down everything. So yeah, I would just recommend journaling. And also, if you were to journal, you could kind of make like a pros and cons list of characteristics you would like in a friend, characteristics you would like to have yourself. And I feel like when you are trying to create a new group of people around you, you need to kind of look at yourself and consider how would you like to be treated as a friend, and then look for those characteristics in other people. One of the main reasons I made this video is because I went on a first friend date on Saturday with my friend Neve, aka Fashion Follows on Instagram, YouTube, etc. And we've been online friends for I'd say like maybe 3-4 years at this stage, and we'd never met. We'd message up and down, we'd reply to each other's stories. And this is where the strength of online friendships can come in to the situation of making real life friends. We developed a relationship before we ever met, so in the form of replying to stories, chatting, having similar experiences that we could relate to each other. And I think a lot of the time when people consider making online friends into real life friends, they kind of expect too much from the relationship dynamic. So even though Neve and I had never met, we'd never had a phone call, we'd never FaceTimed, we had voice noted, we had sent DMs, we'd replied to each other's stories, I'm trying to think, did we ever correspond if we'd ever spoken on Twitter, but there was like a foundation for a relationship there. So then when I suggested actually meeting up and having a friend first date, she said yes, and it kind of removed pressure. And obviously if you know someone online, definitely go for it and ask them, but I do think it's really important to try establish some contact first. Like I said, the few times people have messaged me online and asked, can we hang out, even though I don't follow them, and like the dynamic is a bit different there. You do need to put in some work before you can just expect someone to go on a date. And I think if you were really struggling to make friends, online friends is a good first route, because you kind of have an idea of what they're like personally before you meet them. Because obviously you could be in a bookshop and see someone has the same book in their hand as you do, and you're like, oh my god, we have the same like interests, like let's hang out. Again, that's a bit weird. I'm just really focused on foundations. And kind of a side note, but also very related to this, when I first started talking to my current boyfriend, one of the first things I said to him was, I'm not interested in dating someone unless we're friends first and unless there's like a strong foundation. And he was like, okay, that's fine. He kind of already liked me, so he was ready to put in like the groundwork. So we chatted for I think like 2-3 months before we ever met up, before we ever had a first kiss or anything like that, because making those connections first are really important for me. Just because I had like a disastrous dating life before him, I was like, I'm not taking any chances. Friendship first and then the more romantic stuff. And I feel like if you have online friends, you need to also put in that work, because you can't just expect someone to want to hang out if they've never spoken to you before. It kind of has like, are they going to kill me vibes? Is this a safe situation? If you're not a super online person, making friends online might seem a bit tricky. And my next best tip, and how I've made the majority of my friends the last while, are trying new activities. And again, if you are a viewer of my channel, you would know that I started acting lessons this year, and those acting lessons are the reason I have made new friends this year. I have made like a group of really solid friends, all from those acting lessons, because we all have things in common, which is acting. It's like a hobby that we all wanted to pursue. We were meeting up once a week for classes. We had a performance. We would go for plays together. We would go for dinner together. And I feel like making that step from initially meeting someone, having classes for a couple of weeks, and then being like, let's go do another activity. Because acting was an easy one, I was able to say, why don't we go to a play together? So we went to a play together, then we went for dinner, and then we had a couple of drinks afterwards. And then a few weeks later, we went, I was on holidays, but I suggested another play, and then I wasn't there, but my friends went to another play together, and then went for another meal and more drinks. And I feel like if you want to make new friends and you're really struggling in your like day-to-day life, start a new hobby. Join a new football team, a tennis club, swimming, take up painting classes, take up crochet, horse riding, what else? I'm trying to think of any other hobbies. Just start a new hobby, and there's going to be other people in the exact same boat as you who are completely new to it. And if you're new to something, you're going to want to build community, which is kind of what we did with our little friend group. And to be fair, in my acting class, not everyone became best friends or close friends even. There's still like a little group of like 5 or 6 of us who are really close. We message a lot, and I honestly just think I feel so passionate about this because I've made so many good friends from my acting classes that if you're really, really stuck and don't know how to make friends, just join something new and like you're definitely going to make friends. And if the first time it doesn't work, try something new again. Like even something as simple as joining a local choir or a tidy towns committee. And then if you're kind of putting yourself into new situations as a 20-year-old, there's going to be people from different backgrounds, different ages. So you expand the people and your community even more than just making friends with someone in their 20s who went to college with you. So now I've spoken about online friends and then joining a new activity to make new friends. And once we have the initial friendship, it's important to develop it. So once you make the initial contact, you're chatting, you have good vibes, you like you like how they present themselves, you like their vibes, you just like them. You then have to ask, let's hang out. So it's a very simple scenario. You're like, oh my God, we should hang out. They reply, oh my God, I agree. We are so compatible. You're so nice. Then you suggest, let's go for dinner. They say, that's a great idea. I really like this restaurant. Let's go here. And then you toddle off into the sunset and do that activity. It's really fun. You get on great. You're like, oh my God, this is so fun. We can be friends outside of our acting class. Who would have thought? New friends in your 20s. This is great. But the important part that a lot of people forget about after the first friendship date is the follow-up text. Again, I always say it, you need to treat friendships like romantic partnerships. You need to text them after the date and be like, hi Neve, thanks so much for today. I had so much fun. Hope you got home okay. Let me know when you do. Can't wait to see you again. Little X. That's a better message. And once they receive that message, they'll reply back being like, oh my God, yes, Rachel, thank you so much. I enjoyed myself so much too. Can't wait to see you again. Enjoy work. Once you have that organized, something that you could do, which is going to sound a bit intense, but I think it's actually really important, put it into your calendar 3 weeks or 2 weeks after that initial date, a little reminder being like, ask Neve to hang out again. So then you can like catch up and then 2 weeks being like, hey Neve, hope you're well, just wondering, would you like to go to the cinema with me to see Mamma Mia? I don't know. Then they can reply being like, hi Rachel, I'm actually really busy, or hi Rachel, yes, I'd love to. I think after the initial first friendship date, you kind of need to have your eye on a second date to really solidify the friendship. And I think because a lot of people now, well, not a lot of, I'm making kind of a broad assumption here, but a lot of people, especially on TikTok, talk about having an anxious attachment. So I feel like if you have any sense that the person you went on a friendship date might be a bit anxious after meeting up in the setting that you met up, it's really important to kind of make them know that you really enjoyed yourself and that you should do it again. It's kind of like if you went on a date with someone and then just never heard from them again, you would kind of assume, okay, that didn't go well. They obviously don't like me. So once you have gone on that date, make sure to follow up, and either like you don't have to like plan a second date immediately, but it is important to kind of let them know that you enjoyed yourself and give them an idea that you would like to see them again. And hopefully once you have done all those little steps, you have a brand new little friend. And I think it's really important to like also not put pressure on yourself. Like not everyone is going to be in your life forever, and not every friendship is forever. So just kind of take it as it comes. And if you do end up with a really good friend, that's unreal. If you end up with a casual friend, that's also great. Or maybe you might end up with a best friend. Because some of the examples for me, so I went on a little friendship date with Neve. She's so lovely. But even if we go back further to like 2015, I became friends with Charlotte Ryan, shout out Charlotte, through YouTube. She commented on one of my videos, I replied, we started chatting. Fast forward a couple of months, we ended up going to a YouTube event up in Dublin, and she collected me on our way to Dublin, and we've been best friends since. And I'm literally flying over to London for her 30th in August time because of a simple comment on YouTube. I have a best friend. And I think if you are throwing yourself into making new friends for the first time since you were a child, you're kind of confused of like, oh my God, how do I act? Do I present to them a version of myself I want to be. Like, say for example, if when you were in school you were like really shy, you kind of let people make jokes about you, etc., you're probably not going to want that to be the new version of you. But I think it's really important to be 110% yourself, because there's no point starting a new relationship and then like further down the line they find out that you're completely different to how you were on your friendship date. Just be yourself, and if they're going to click with you, they will click with you, and if not, you can just say goodbye and try again with another group of people. And I think the last thing I'm going to talk about today is building community. And I think in the current situation of life, especially on TikTok, Twitter, there's this really intense feeling of individualism that everyone feels like, well, don't do that if it's not like benefiting you. Don't put yourself under pressure. If someone comes to you and says you're depressed, that's not your problem, etc., etc. And I feel like the term "it takes a village" or anything to do with community is being slowly forgotten, or even quickly forgotten, by a lot of younger generations. I seen a thing on Twitter this week about this girl whose sister has a baby, and the older sister asked the younger sister, "Can you watch my baby while I go get a shower?" And the younger sister was like, "That baby's not my responsibility. I'm not watching it." And I like quote tweeted it being like, I feel like everyone has forgotten about the term "it takes a village." And it just basically means that in life, children, adults, everyone needs a community of people to develop, to grow, and also just to sustain how they are in like the current moment. And personally, I would consider my community my family, my boyfriend, my friends, extended family, etc. And when you are looking to make new friends, it's probably important to kind of acknowledge like, why do you want to make new friends? If you already have like a core group, is there a reason you're looking for more? Do you want to completely change up your community? And even though like I'm not really giving answers on what the community should be, because it should be up to you, you probably do need to consider like your values, their values, and the sort of people that you want to surround yourself with. Because when I look at my friends, and when my boyfriend has met all my friends recently, he always says to me, "Oh my god, they're so similar to you in..." Like, there's always like a list of like 5 ways that are really similar. And then there's also a list of 5 ways that were completely different. And I feel like the older that you get, the more easy it is to click with people that perfectly align with who you are. And as I mentioned in my first video, it's very easy to then fall out with people if your values and morals, etc., don't align. But it is easier as you get older to kind of figure out the sort of people that you want around you. And I think probably the question, am I a good friend, is a really important one to start out from. And I just think if everyone was a little bit kinder to themselves and the people around them, making friends would be very easy.
Let it go, 얼어붙어 like whoa. 어지러워, I see